The first day ADANNA returned from the city, the entire village gathered along the dusty roadside to watch her. Children ran barefoot behind the old bus that brought her home. Women whispered under their breath. Young girls stared at her shiny shoes and fitted clothes as though they were looking at someone from another world. ADANNA stepped down slowly, adjusting her dark glasses with pride. Her braided hair was neatly styled, her lips carried a touch of glossy lipstick, and the small handbag hanging from her shoulder looked too expensive for a village like theirs. Even the way she walked had changed. She no longer walked like the little village girl who used to fetch water from the stream with her mates years ago. No. ADANNA walked like someone who had seen the city and returned too important for ordinary people. "City girl," some young girls whispered in admiration. Nneka pushed through the crowd excitedly and hugged her tightly. "ADANNA, you've changed so much." ADANNA smiled proudly. "The city changes people," she replied. The girls around her listened carefully, hanging on to every word like hungry birds waiting to be fed. Only ADANNA's mother stood quietly at the doorway of their mud house, watching her daughter with worried eyes. Because unlike the others, she knew the truth. ADANNA was not sent back home because she missed the village. She was sent away in disgrace. But her mother swallowed the shame silently. In the village, people mocked others for years over one mistake. One rumor could stain an entire family name. So she kept quiet and prayed her daughter would change. But ADANNA returned worse than before. Every morning, while village girls carried firewood on their heads and walked joyfully to the stream, ADANNA sat outside rubbing powder on her face and talking about city life as though she had lived among millionaires. She refused to follow her mother to the farm. She refused to sweep the compound. Sometimes, when her mother corrected her, ADANNA would hiss loudly. "Mama, please. I'm not a village girl anymore." Her mother would stare at her in pain. "And what did being a city girl bring you?" she once asked quietly. ADANNA ignored her. Instead, she filled the village with stories. Stories about expensive restaurants. Stories about rich boys in the city. Stories about an iPhone 17 Pro Max her boyfriend bought for her. "My auntie was jealous," she lied one afternoon while sitting with Nneka beneath the mango tree. "That's why she collected the phone before sending me back." Nneka's eyes widened with amazement. "Yeah. So your boyfriend is that rich?" ADANNA crossed her legs proudly. "He still sends money to my account every week." Meanwhile, hidden inside her bag was an old Nokia touchlight phone with cracked buttons. But ADANNA had become addicted to lies. The more people admired her, the more she wanted attention. Soon, admiration was no longer enough. She wanted expensive clothes, expensive shoes, bags, jewelry, things she could not afford. And so, she began stealing from her own mother. At first, it was small amounts. A few naira hidden beneath wrappers. Money tucked inside cooking pots. Notes folded carefully inside her mother's Bible. Each time she stole, she promised herself it would be the last. But it never was. A traveling clothes supplier often visited nearby villages with fashionable clothes from the city. ADANNA secretly bought from her almost every week. Sometimes she paid. Sometimes she lied. "My boyfriend will send the money tomorrow. Don't worry, balance me later. Money is not my problem." The lies continued piling up like firewood before rainy season. Meanwhile, her mother slowly noticed her money disappearing. At first, she blamed herself for forgetting where she kept it. But deep down, she already knew. The pain broke her heart silently. Still, she told nobody. Out of shame, she began giving her savings to her trusted friend, Mama Chike, to keep for her. "Please keep this money for me," she would whisper quietly. Mama Chike never asked questions. But ADANNA noticed. The money she depended on was suddenly no longer available. Yet her appetite for fake luxury had already grown too big. The debt she owed the clothes supplier kept increasing until one hot afternoon, the woman arrived angrily at their compound. "Where is Adanna?" she shouted loudly. Villagers slowly gathered around. Adanna stepped outside nervously. The woman pointed at her furiously. "You owe me over 300,000 naira. Every day it's my boyfriend will send money." "Which boyfriend?" Murmurs spread through the crowd immediately. "What boyfriend?" She lied. "So all these things are fake?" Neka stood frozen among the villagers, staring at her friend with disbelief. Adanna's body trembled. For the first time, fear entered her proud heart. The woman continued shouting. "She has been deceiving me for months. Fake city girl." The villagers erupted into whispers and laughter. Some shook their heads in disappointment. Others mocked openly. And just when Adanna thought the shame could not get worse, her auntie arrived from the city that same evening. The moment she heard what happened, she became furious. "So she did not change?" she cried. Everyone fell silent. Her auntie exposed everything. How Adanna stole jewelry from her room in the city. How she sold them secretly. How she created fake stories about rich men and luxury lifestyles she only saw in movies. Even the boyfriend she bragged about did not exist. The name she used belonged to Ode, the gateman in her auntie's compound. The entire village burst into shock. Adanna wished the ground would open and swallow her whole. That evening, her mother sat outside crying quietly while neighbors whispered nearby. The shame was unbearable. From that day onward, Adanna became the laughingstock of the village. Children mocked her openly. Women stopped trusting her. Whenever she passed, people whispered, "See the liar. See fake big girl." Even Neka avoided her. The admiration she once enjoyed disappeared completely. And slowly, loneliness began eating Adanna alive. For the first time in her life, she understood what her lies had destroyed. Not just her reputation. Not just her mother's peace. But herself. One evening, after returning alone from the stream, Adanna sat beneath the old Udola tree and cried bitterly. An old woman passing by stopped and looked at her carefully. Then she said softly, "A person who keeps borrowing another person's life will one day lose their own." Adanna lifted her tearful eyes slowly. The old woman continued. "A lie tastes sweet at first but ends in a bitter shame." Those words pierced deeply into her heart. From that day, Adanna changed. She stopped lying. She followed the girls to the stream again. She worked hard beside her mother on the farm. She greeted elders respectfully. But rebuilding trust was harder than destroying it. People still avoided her. Even when she finally spoke the truth, many no longer believed her, and that became her greatest punishment. Years later, mothers in the village still used Adanna's story to warn their daughters. Because pride may attract attention for a moment, but honesty is what keeps respect forever. And Adanna learned too late that a good name is worth far more expensive than expensive clothes, fake stories, or borrowed luxury. And that was Adanna's story, a lesson hidden in pride, pressure, and truth. Sometimes, what we try so hard to hide is what ends up exposing us. Thanks for watching. See you on our next video.